So let's talk about differentiation. You hear me emphasize that all the time throughout the course. You have to differentiate your product, but what is differentiation? What does that exactly mean? I mean, differentiation is what's going to set you up for long-term success. If you don't do differentiation and just come out with another Me Too product, you might have success for a short amount of time, but it's going to be short-lived and you're not going to have a long-term longevity, and it's going to be very, very difficult to actually sell that product. You can't just slap your logo on a product that you find on Alibaba or just create something that's almost identical to what everybody else is doing like you used to be able to do and actually have a good chance of success. You've got to stand out from the crowd. You've got to do something different. When people type in a search term on Amazon and the results show up, you have to be the one that just shines on that page, the one that just pops off of that page. It doesn't look like everybody else. And otherwise, you're just going to be competing on price. You're going to be competing on reviews. And that's not the way to go to have a good chance of long-term success. So when you're doing differentiation, though, what is it that makes your product unique? What is your unique selling proposition? What is it that makes you different than everybody else? And there's a lot of things you could do and consider, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Now, whatever changes you do make, it has to be important to the buyer. So it just can't be just making a change just for the sake of making a change. And a color variation is not differentiation. That just to be clear on that. But there are several things that you can do. So let's talk about some of those that you might be able to do to actually make your product different. One is packaging. Sometimes you can actually completely change the packaging. It can be the exact same product inside a plastic bag and the exact same product inside a really nice box. And that box might cost you a couple extra dollars to have manufactured, but you can charge $10 to $20 more because of the perceived value. People eat with their eyes first. And so you always want to present something in a very positive manner and make it look exclusive and unique. And packaging is one of the easiest ways to do that. I mean, I've done that with some of my products. You'll see in one of the interludes where I show you some of my bully sticks. And I did that exact same thing where everybody else was selling things in a plastic bag. I put mine in a cigar box. It was able to charge 3 times as much for 10% less or actually 9% less product. And it worked really, really well. So that's one thing you can do is take a look at the packaging. Some creative, unique packaging, not just putting it in a simple box, but something cool, even a cool shaped box. Packaging can make a huge difference. Even a bow, or if it's gift wrapped, whatever it may be. Packaging is a great way to stand out. Another way is bundling. If you could put 2 products together, so maybe you're seeing that one product is selling really well, and you're seeing in the frequently bought together, people are often buying another product with it. Maybe if you bundle those 2 things together, you can make it stand out. One of the things I've done in the past is I was selling makeup. I was selling a 3D fiber lash mascara for women, and everybody had the same 3D fiber lash mascara. But what I did is I saw in a lot of the reviews that people were complaining about they wish they had a small little brush to mess with their eyelashes. So I had a separate factory make a small little brush, and I included that in the box. That's an example of bundling, and that made it stand out. That made it different, and I could emphasize that in my product listing. So that's an idea of bundling. Another thing you can do is like a secret sauce. And sometimes this is actually a secret sauce, like maybe it's a special ingredient. Your skin mask is from the Dead Sea, and it has a special salt that nobody else has in all their ingredients. That's only from this one little bay of the Dead Sea, that everybody else is just pulling it from the main ocean there, and you're pulling yours from this special little bay where there's this secret lost cave or something like that. You know, some sort of special little ingredient that you can emphasize can make you stand out. Or even just naming your product in a certain way. So one of the products I sold in the past was hand sanitizer. You know, all hand sanitizer is basically water and alcohol. And so how do you differentiate that? I mean, we did it with the packaging in one way, but we also came up with a unique name. We called ours like a PX80 or something like that, some cool sounding name. So it's not just hand sanitizer, it's actually a PX80 Plus or PX80 Extreme or something along those lines. Those kinds of things can be like a little secret sauce in the naming that can actually help you. Another thing is materials. The materials that you make the product out of can be a differentiator. I have another product that's in the that you'll see on one of the interludes. That's a life jacket for dogs. And this life jacket for dogs, we're making it out of recycled ocean waste. You know, the large size, it's eight plastic bottles that go into this product. And so that differentiates it from everything else. It's made out of recycled plastic. 80% of the jacket's made out of recycled plastic. That's important to a lot of people. Remember I said it has to be important to the buyers. That's important to a lot of people. So that helps it stand out and can justify even a little bit higher price because people will pay for that because it's special. Another thing is creativity. You can get creative with what you're doing. Back on my bully sticks, we got really creative. Everybody else is selling 30 bully sticks in a pack, putting them in a plastic bag and just sticking a label on the front. I decided to go in and find a classically trained French chef that would actually make these with a special process, and his didn't have the same smell as the rest, and they didn't stain, and all the other problems that people were complaining about in the reviews, I fixed all those, and we just put 3 in a box, in a cigar box, and put a really cool label on the outside, and we were able to sell it for 3 times as much, even though it was a lot less actual product inside. And so getting creative can actually be another way to differentiate. Another way is to fix complaints. Back on the bully sticks, when I was doing those, I read all the reviews of all the top sellers. And we're going to show you how to do that in a later module using a tool from Helium-10. And I was able to see that people were constantly complaining that these things were when the dog would chew on them, some juices would come out and they would stain the carpet or stain the couch, or there was a foul odor that was coming from them. And so I was able to fix those complaints and emphasize that in my listing. So that's another way of differentiation. Another thing is by changing the shape or the size of something. If everybody is selling a desktop version, maybe you're selling the portable version, and you can be the only one on page 1 that has the portable version. Or maybe if it's some sort of a portable oven, everybody else is square shaped, yours is circular shaped. You got to stand out. You got to do something that makes it different, and so that it pops off the page when people see those search results. Another way to differentiate is just in optimizing your listing properly with the content of your listing. One of the things that I've done in the past are cartoons, actually, to emphasize my point, and that just made the listing look different. And I had cartoons back on those bully sticks again, where I would show that all the other bully sticks were cheap, like a fast food. And mine were like what you would get in a really nice steakhouse. So I'd have a cartoon that would show a bunch of dogs driving in a car, and they were going through like a McDonald's drive-through ordering some cheap bully sticks. And then I'd contrast that in the cartoon with some dogs sitting around a table in a really nice steak restaurant with a bow tie and a little maitre d' coming out with a tray to serve them the food. Those kind of things plant an image in the customer's mind and can connect and can really help you differentiate the product and help justify why yours should be their choice. Another way that you can differentiate is with personalization. Now, sometimes that's a little bit hard unless you're doing print on demand. If you're doing print on demand things, you can actually personalize and put someone's name on the actual item. Or you can even, if you're just selling a standard item on Amazon, you can put an insert card in and offer to give them a personalized option. Maybe it's a little plaque that you send them in the mail that they can stick on, or it's a sticker or something along those lines. One of the things that we've done with our life jackets is it comes with some Velcro patches that patch on. We give them a set of 10 that come with it, but they can actually, if they have their own logo or their own passionate group they're part of, they can go to a website, upload that, and we will make a sticker or a Velcro patch just for them, like a one-off, and send that to them so they can put that on the life jacket. Those kind of personalization things can help differentiate your product. Another thing is licensing. You can often, if you're going to get the license of a big brand, it doesn't have to be Disney or someone like that. It can be lower tier, mid-level brands. A lot of times those licenses are not too hard to get. And there's a whole module coming up on that from my friend Paul Miller. It's going to be talking about licensing and how to do that. That can be a great way to differentiate. Like I said earlier, if you're selling flashlights, if your flashlight, if it's Kevin's brand of flashlights, that's not going to mean as much as it says U.S. Army on the side. So licensing can be a really great way to differentiate your product. Another way is by choosing a higher price. If everybody's selling coffee makers and they're all mostly on page 1, they're in the $20 to $50 range, maybe you can actually come out with a $150 one. That's the special exclusive barista edition, and it's super cool and got the best metal and heats up faster or something along those lines, and so you can stand out and be different and be the highest price one in the market versus just running with the pack. That can be another way to differentiate. Another way you can differentiate is in the origin of the product. If everything is made in China, maybe yours is made in the USA, and you emphasize that fact, made in the USA, because there's a lot of people that will pay extra or will choose you over someone else because it's made in the USA. Or if it's cosmetics and beauty items, maybe you want to actually say this is made in France or something, somewhere where it has a very strong connotation to beauty. Those kind of things can really help you as well. Also, another way is to solve problems by reading the reviews and solve whatever the problem is people are saying. Maybe they're saying, this spatula, whenever I hold it, it gets hot too easily to my hand. Maybe you come out with one that has a special grip it's not hot to the hand. That can be a differentiating factor. Another way to differentiate is by fixing gaps in the market. For example, my dog bowls that I did, they're slow feed dog bowls. These are a popular item on Amazon. Most of the slow feed dog bowls are cheap. They're little plastic. They look like a little mountain. Got little spikes in it to slow the dog down. The dog has to take its tongue and move it around in there so they can't gulp down their food. So it helps them on their digestion and helps them eat slower. But they all look the same. And they're actually honestly ugly for the most part. They're just plastic pieces of junk. Well, there's a gap in the market there. There's some people that in their house, they don't want an ugly bowl sitting on the floor. They want a nice, cool looking bowl. So I created a cool looking bowl in the shape of a bone that has rubber and silicone. It doesn't slide on the floor. And that was a gap in the market. And so that product did very, very well. So these are some of the ways that you can actually differentiate your product. And you have to do this. This is a must. There's no exception to this. If you don't do this, you may have short-term success for a little while, but you're going to be dead in the water before too long. So as you're evaluating products, always be looking for, how can I differentiate this? How can I make it stand out? What can I do to make it different? And your chances of success selling on Amazon are going to shoot through the moon. We'll see you in the next module.